Hello, everyone. Stocks kind of had a little bit of a rough go of it on Tuesday overall, as we had a pretty harsh sell-off going into the close. However, the good news is, following that harsh sell-off into the close, the Nasdaq is up, as the last time I checked, 0.53%. The Dow Jones is up 0.05%. The S&P is up 0.07% after hours, as Apple was currently up 1.62%. But it was up over 3% at one point, over 440, currently in the mid 430s. But it is still putting it over the 50-day moving average. And with Apple opening up over the 50-day moving average, that should be good for the NASDAQ and hopefully our overall stock market tomorrow. But if not, it is what it is. The NASDAQ had an actual distribution day today. However, what does it matter in this market? Still, it's something to take note of. Technically, volume was below average, but a distribution day is just volume heavier than the day before. Index down over 0.20%, or as I make it 0.25% minimum. So it's technical distribution day, but overall you can see we're still uptrending nicely, and a pullback isn't necessarily a horrible thing to see here. Russell 2000 was down 0.1% today, relative strength wise to the S&P 500. It had a solid session, as the S&P 500 was actually down 0.19% today. Its brother, the New York Stock Exchange, was up 0.09%, but the one thing you can see here is that we continue to move on below average volume. So we can't really say that there's a huge accumulation or liquidation going on at these levels. It is what it is, a nice steady so far uptrend. Tonight, I only had two sells. One is of a recent long that has earnings on Thursday. That is Biogen. Normally, this would just be a 50% sell for me, as we are still holding above the 50-day moving average. And really, if we just draw a line just connecting these lows, we're still above, all of those lows. However, with earnings coming on Thursday, the fact that we had two strong pocket pivot point signals immediately reverse on above average volume means that I want to step back. So I'll be selling 75% of my position that I took in both accounts. So it's 75% overall, but Biogen, I'll let the last 25% ride. And if it gaps down at any point following earnings, then obviously it's going to be a full sell. And the other sell is NWY, New York and Company, pulling back on lighter volume. It's lost its nice strong green bop, but it's still well above, average bop, the zero line, so nothing's too horrible there. However, NWY is going down a lot now, kind of showing some very weak relative strength performance to the overall market, as you can see here with this white line hitting new lows on that panel way before prices. After closing below the 50-day or the 10-day moving average on below average volume, it became a watch, and any close below 645 or the 20-day moving average would be an automatic 25% sell, and that's what we got today. So that's why it is a 25% sell. Other stocks that are on watch for possible sells continues to be SBGI. Remember, a heavy volume close below the 50-day moving average would make that another 25% sell. Heavy volume close below the 20-day moving average wouldn't necessarily do it here, but now that we're below the 20-day moving average, the 50-day moving average is key. Also, TECUA is on the cusp of closing below the 20-day moving average, so another down session. Tomorrow or today, for whoever's watching the video on Wednesday, will give this a 25% sell signal. And then CSU, another very heavy volume close below the 50-day moving average, or a close below the intraday low of this level, 2164, which would also coincide the 200-day moving average, would be a full sell. But if it sells off further below the 50-day moving average on lower volume or just slightly above average, it won't be a full sell, as a couple of stocks have shaken us out of good strong positions. VIPS, I took a huge or a very heavy volume sell below the 50-day moving average with a 200-day moving average well below it as a full sell signal. Hindsight now says, whoops, and a QE tape, bad mistake. HIMX, the same thing, just a little bit later in June. It sold off on heavier volume below the 50-day moving average, confirming the previous heavy volume sell-off. However, it was too well above the 200-day moving average, so it should have been held in hindsight with the QE tape and uptrending market. The one thing, though, to notice then was that the market was starting to show some weakness and selling off on heavier volume, so I don't blame myself for getting out of HIMX and VIPS, considering what the market was doing during that time on well above average volume. So it is what it is. And then also continuing the strength off the lows, NUGT, the confirmation buy signal here, has now produced a 41% gain. Also, if you would have taken the pivotal point reversal off the lows in NUGT, you would have a 46% gain. So continue to watch that. I also noticed some good short signals today. CODE, if this was a bear market, this would be a very strong short signal, as we're not risking that much if it doesn't, work out and gets back to the 50-day moving average. And also ARQL on a technical short signal, this also is very strong. It would be more risky because it's already had a sell-off, but following the light volume rally and refailure of the 250-day moving average on heavier volume, if we were in a downtrending market, this would be a very strong short signal. And the one new long that we have tonight, LOPE, it's making a pocket pivot point buy signal very close to the 50-day moving average and off these strong 1, 2, 3, 4 support levels the past 4 days, closing near the high of the day on a nice increase in BOP, very strong increase in volume, and obviously a pocket pivot point buy signal. Earnings are on the 30th, so it should give us enough time to know if we are right or wrong. ICLR kind of gave a half-ass add signal today from a short base that is not full of green BOP like LOPE, so it doesn't make it as nice. The volume surge also isn't as strong, even though it's another pocket pivot point buy signal. The biggest problem is earnings are on the 25th, so it's too risky of a signal to take. Back to LOPE, that will be 2% in the risk account, 2% in the non-risk account. Have a great Wednesday, everyone.